Hey guys, I'm so excited to share with you guys my new series, Soul Healing NDEs. Where I'll be bringing in guests who will be sharing their near death experience stories. And I wanted to do this because I listen to a lot of NDEs. I'm really fascinated by it because it's so closely related to my work. Whenever I hear an NDE story, it's always a deep resonance with the work that I'm doing. And I wanted to kick this first episode off with someone who really resonated. When I heard her story, it really, really, really resonated with me. Her name is Nekesha Burrell, and I'm going to give her the floor to talk about her experience, what she experienced doing her NDE.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm
There you
doing
go.
good.
Cool.
hmm
It's funny because I hear both accents almost like the
Are you
Brooklyn
kidding me?
and the.
Are you kidding me? At least three. And when I'm connecting to the guides, I notice that the British accent comes through really strong.
Stronger.
Yeah, and then when I'm speaking, I don't know, I've learned to adapt in a sense,
Mhm.
and it flip-flops like crazy. So people always ask me, literally all my life, where are you from? Because they're not sure if there's a British accent or there's an American. And
Mhm.
then a Jamaican come in every so often, like,
All right.
so I used to try to speak slower so I can control like what accent comes out, and then I just stopped.
He's like, forget it.
Didn't
Just
care
whatever
anymore.
they get is what they get. Who cares? Love it. Awesome.
So
All
I
right.
don't even know what you wanted me to do, but I saw your picture and I just felt this calling, like, oh my gosh, I don't care what she's doing, I'm in it with her.
Oh, I love that. Love that.
What
And
are
I'm
you doing though? You said you're a hypnotherapist.
yeah, I'm a spiritual, well, clinical and transpersonal hypnotherapist, but I specialize in spiritual hypnotherapy.
Ooh, that's
Um,
fun. You've joined the
yeah.
heart.
Are you
So you
familiar
have the
with
spirit.
any of that, the spiritual hypnotherapy
I
aspects?
just know what my guides have showed me that everything is now going to be diversified in a sense. So people who are bringing these services somehow have this calling now to join the spirituality with whatever technically has been written, the textbook style.
Right.
So whatever you're doing, bringing the spirituality into it almost completes, the
Awesome.
service to humanity in a sense.
Right, right. I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Yes, awesome, awesome. So, I want to give you the floor. If you would just maybe, I guess, start with if you need to preface with the backstory, or you could just jump right into the day that it began, with your NDE. That would be perfect.
Mm. I have to backtrack a little bit before I tell my NDE story because, listen, I am this born Caribbean girl and I was brought up in Jamaica and I had the usual Caribbean lifestyle. My family is strict Christian and I'm the one who was, we had to be ushered out to go to church every Sunday. And I'm always that one who's getting in trouble. Why? Because I was in this diversified field of my best friend going to church on a Saturday, I'm going to church on a Sunday. And I also had friends who were Rastafarians who were not connected to any religion. However, when I was around them, I would feel this love and permeating peace and oneness with nature and an aspect of God that when I was in my own environment, did not identify it as God. And I always said to myself, why are there so many gods? So I'm the one in my family, they always tell to shut up because I never understood why when I went to church, I was told that I have to get my friend to come to my church on Sunday because she's going to go to hell. And I think I had this disconnection with not the aspect of the love that came with religion because I needed that, but just the separation I never understood. Why is there so much separation? Why couldn't there just be one God, one source of love that accepts everybody that I love too? So as a kid, I kind of did that for a while and then I just stopped because I was told to shut up more than 1,000 times, I believe. And I simply digressed into being an adult. Do you know what I mean? And during COVID, I think ushered in this kind of awakening of presence within me again, like I was as a kid, asking these questions. And I believe the reason why it happened was because I had no one to talk to really. During COVID, everything shut down. My business closed down in Jamaica, the tourism sector closed. And I really had this moment of pause, like, oh my gosh, I have been identified as this entrepreneur and I've been doing it for umpteen years and now it's just gone. So who am I then? What's my purpose now? What am I going to do if this does not come to, business as usual? And it started to have me. now identify my ethereal body, that part of me that I kind of closed down because I was busy with work and just getting everything together. And I started subtly in 2020 to start to feel this part of me and feel presences around me again. And I, at first, was kind of scared the bejeebies out of me because I didn't understand what it was. And I was very ingrained still in my faith. And there's a thin line in the Christian faith that says, it's so easy to go to the light or to the dark, which is true. And in that time, I believe my guide started to prepare me to understand how to feel. And I learned very quickly, it's fear that really causes you to kind of tip the line of going over to darkness. It has nothing to do with God or light or love. So anyway, I started subtly to go through these quietly because I couldn't talk about it to my family. Fast forward, I ended up in New York, orchestrated by my guides also. And I think I got to the stage where I was completely confused between what do I do now? Because now I'm having these feelings and it's kind of convoluted in a sense with everything that I've learned. So it was April 2021, and I was in New York at that time, and I had no plans. I just came to New York because my heart said New York is calling. And all my family left that morning because New York is just busy, on the go, on the go, on the go, and the energy is just, it doesn't get steady. And that morning, I think I had everything in the world on my mind because what am I going to do? Am I going to stay in New York? Am I going back? All these things. And I went to take a shower after everyone left, so I was there alone. And when I went to take the shower, I remember I felt this tickle in my throat, just a tickle. And I had this thought, okay, I'm going to clear my throat. So I did. And when I cleared my throat, there's no breath. There was absolutely no breath, and I started to gasp for breath, and there still was none. It's as if something completely locked my airway. And I remember in that moment holding on to the shower curtain. And I remember pulling it down, absolutely in fright or what you call it, fight or flight, in a sense. And in that very moment, this moment, I had this memory. Before I left Jamaica, my hubby, who's asthmatic, was very, very adamant that I take one of his asthma pumps. I was very livid and upset. I don't need this. Why are you giving this to me? And he said, I don't know why, but I know you need to take it. So in that moment, this split second, I had this memory and I started to shuffle out of the bathroom. And I remember I put my hand in my bag, my right hand, and I felt the pump. The first thing I felt when I put my hand in the bag was the pump. And as soon as I held it in my hand, then another thought came in. You don't know how to use it. And I'm gasping for breath. And within that other second, I had this memory again. And I'm thinking to myself, you are about to die. And my phone rings. I'm gasping for breath. I have the pump in my right hand. My phone's ringing. And I remember when I took the phone up, I could not press it because I was just about out of breath. But here's the funny thing about this phone. When I came to New York, I'm an Android queen all my life. And when I came to New York, this guy in the store was adamant, get an iPhone. It's my first iPhone and set up the face recognition. And at that time, I didn't trust face recognition, and he was adamant. He set the whole thing up. And I believe what happened is when I took that phone up that day, it recognized my face because I didn't press it, and it fell to the floor. And I could hear my hubby on the other side shouting, Nick, because after the NDE he told me he just had this urgency to say, call Nick now. So the phone's on the floor, he's talking to me. I'm not paying attention to that because I'm dying now. And I remember the only thought I had to myself, I can't believe my brother-in-law and my sister is going to find me naked on the DAMN floor. And I was so upset in a second. I wasn't there anymore. And I remember I perceived this white space. It's not a white room like my office here. It's just this whiteness. And as soon as I was to think to myself, where am I? The apparition of my grandmother appeared in front of me, just like somebody's drawing the outline of a human being. It was so amazing. And it's the youngest stage that I remember her. And as soon as I was to think, where am I? I just all of a sudden started to perceive light orbs just populating around me, just populating. And then I had this feeling, oh my gosh, I'm home. And what's home? I remember somebody asked me this. I said, it just felt like I am, you put a droplet in a big ocean of sea. That's kind of what it felt like I'm now melding back with everything that I truly am. And although I'm Christian, I never knew the name of all these angels. And there, as soon as the light orbs just started to populate, I was identified every angel as the light orbs populate. It was like a welcome home party. And there's one thing I will tell this story over and over again. Why? Because it takes me back to that feeling. It's a feeling that I try most times to take a really deep breath to relive. I've never felt that much love and welcoming in my human life. And as I was there, it just felt as if all of a sudden I'm getting, now I know it's downloads, but I was getting this knowingness of, oh my gosh, all the earths that came before, the ones that got obliterated, the choices that people made. And for a moment, I glanced over to my left. And when I looked over there, it was interesting to me because what I saw there were the actual apparition of angels the way I've seen them with the wings and all of that. And the reason why I looked over there, because from those angels, I could see that they were like ushering through rainbow colors. The colors that were coming from them were like rainbow colors. And it was going through these light beams. And when I looked, I realized, oh my gosh, as soon as I was to think, what's that? I knew those are the spirits who chose to come to the light. And as soon as I was to think, well, what are they doing? I realized it's spiritual rehab. And I found it interesting. I was like, oh my gosh, they're having a option, a choice to just resolve the things that they think they could have done better right there. And then I had the thought, what happened to the spirits that don't come to the light? And all of a sudden, I got this download and I realized, oh my gosh, the many choices and reasons why a spirit might not choose to come to the light by the choices they made. And the minute you change form back to spirit, you're immediately flooded with every single decision you made in your lifetime. And if they had a life of not choosing to give love to themselves and others, a lot of them, when they get to that stage, back to spirit, back to energy, they don't feel the love that's in the light that's come to meet them will accept them because of how they live. And they linger a little bit, before going there because they feel ashamed, put it that way. And also, there are some spirits who just don't realize that they're not in the form anymore. I just had that knowing, and I don't know, I think I got excitement because I said to myself, oh my gosh, there's no one over there that's judging them. That was the main thing. There was so much love in this rainbow of colors that was going into them, and it just made me feel really woozy inside in a sense. And then all of a sudden, I had this perception of this big archway. It was like made out of puffy clouds. And when I looked beyond it, it was this beautiful crystal city behind it. And I love waterfalls. So beyond that, I could see this waterfalls. It was beautiful. And I so wanted to go there. And as soon as I had the thought, my grandmother appeared in front of me again. Now I know that if I had gone through that archway, I wouldn't have come back into physicality, but I really wanted to go. And when my grandmother appeared, all of a sudden, I just had this knowing of this, I don't know, this energy beside me. And when I took notice, now I'm seeing an actual angel the way I always drew them as a child. This huge angel. And then I realized this is Archangel Raphael. And it's not as if, oh my gosh, who are you? I don't know how, but I identified them there. And as soon as I perceived Archangel Raphael, I started to have these memories before I chose the family that I came into, the reason why I chose this family, the pre-birth experience I had while I was in the womb, I was having these memories. And not just that, Archangel Raphael was showing me, yep, that was me there when you were just born, this time when you almost died, went to the hospital, that was me. This time when you were two. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was you in my source self. That's what I was doing. And I identified, wow, you are one of my main guides. And it was like, you're meeting this pal that you haven't seen for a long time. And while he was there and my grandmother was still there, I was just receiving, I now call them downloads because I'm seeing the probabilities of my choices, but it's so energetic because they allowed me to feel the effect of the choices that human beings make. They were showing me the effects of the choices that other beings made on the earths that have passed by, and the reason why those lands were obliterated the way they were. But they were showing me not things to say predictability or anything for doom. They were allowing me to understand you have a choice. You have a choice to experience this beautiful earth. This is a prediction, yes, but from your choices, here are the probabilities. And I was seeing these probabilities of earth. And they were narrowing down, showing me, okay, this beautiful being who makes this choice, I'm going to pour into me today. And energetically, it shows me how it affects the household, the neighbors, the community. It spreads like wildfire. And while I was there, I was seeing imprints of myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, you could have smiled there. I wish I had done that. I was just so I think grading myself so hard because I'm seeing these very little minute things that I thought was nothing. But then when I'm seeing the reaction, let's say how I reacted to something, somebody being angry, and I got angry as well. And they were allowing me to see energetically how that amplified the shadows. My grandmother doesn't talk about darkness and light. She talk about holding on to people's shadows and shadows of situations because I reacted to it instead of out of love, out of anger, or out of darkness. And when I think I was judging myself too much, Archangel Raphael allowed me to. I'm going to now show you three scenes in your life. And as soon as I was to think, what scenes? I was inside this beautiful space. It feels as if I was in this gigantic bee's hive or something because it was just like honey pods. I couldn't count them. And they were just beautiful golden honey pods into that room. And as soon as I was to think, what's there? I realized, oh my gosh, that is the memory of every single human being. That is, let's say, the written, everything that you've ever done, every thought you ever made, everything that you reacted to is there. And every orb, every one of those pods is for one human being. I found it amazing. And then I knew, okay, I'm going to focus on three things. And I remember I had this thought of all the life I lived, I'm only going to look at three things. But anyway, one of the pods came out, so beautiful. And the first thing I remember seeing was myself as 5 years old in this beautiful red dress. And I don't have this memory before this. I did not remember this. My sister was getting me ready. And what I found interesting is I wasn't feeling how I felt. I was feeling how she felt. And while she was getting me ready, she had this thought, I will protect you forever. And I was interested. Why are you saying that? And the minute I had that thought, I was taken to my sister's child where she had an experience. That's not the most pleasurable thing for a child to feel. But that night, when she was expressing herself, she was praying to God. She said, God, because at the time it was her and my two brothers. And she had this prayer, God, if you could just give me a sister, if you give me a sister, I promise I'll protect her forever. And I think that's why I'm the last one that nobody expected. She probably prayed me in. But within that moment, the reason why it's significant to me, my sister and I, because we have so many years between us, I've always had a tit for tat with her. I'm always the one saying, why can't you just be a sister instead of always mothering me? I'm always in arguments back and forth. I want to do this, I want to experience this, and she's always this huge protector. But I think from a young age, I never understood it. So I was like, she's so hard on me. I wish she could just be lighter. And when that moment, I realized, oh my gosh, the love she has for me is so unconditional. And that helped a lot. It helped me a lot to understand where she was coming from. And immediately that went away. And another orb came up or a hologram. And I was in high school in Jamaica, and there was this young guy who really fancied me. But I was in seventh grade. It was Valentine's Day, and he brought a rose to me. And I refused the rose. But I didn't remember this memory either. And I thought that's the silliest thing. It's so minute. Who would remember it? They allowed me to feel how he felt. And I didn't know that a simple act like that could hurt somebody so much. He was so broken. He was so heartbroken. I couldn't understand how come. And I felt so horrible because I said to myself, that simple thing that I did in that physicality that probably took seconds. It didn't take long. It was just me refusing something. He turned away, and I couldn't understand why he was so heartbroken. And all of a sudden, when I started to feel that, this beautiful light orb, it wasn't white like the others. It was just colorful. And I had this knowing, oh my gosh, that's his soul. And I think I got a chance to, I don't know, say sorry or something because there's no words. But I had this feeling of, like lightness. And then it went away. And I have to interject now, after my NDE, after this experience, I started to reach out to, class members and people in the community to find out, because I wanted to find them in human, to really apologize. And they told me that he passed away years before. And that kind of just gave me this peace. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, because I really got a chance to say sorry to his soul. And the third review that I got to see, I was in Jamaica again in this supermarket, and there was a lady in the line before me, and there was a long line behind, and she was there for a while. And I realized because she was trying to pick what thing she wants to take, and I figured, oh my gosh, she can't be able to pay her bill. And I leaned over to the teller, not to her, and I said to the teller, I'll pay her bill, it's okay, let her go. And I think the teller said it to her, and when she realized, she turned and she faced me, and she said, thank you so much. And I said to her, God works in mysterious ways. And she held my hand like this. And my guides allowed me to feel that when she held my hand like this that day, she gave me something energetically. And I didn't know that was a possibility. They allowed me to feel that she exchanged something with me that day out of gratitude, but more than that, also grace and just an amplification of the energy that I was propagating at the time. And I didn't understand at the time what it was. And they kind of took me into this woman's, I don't know, into her being, just being a witness to her, praying the night before to God. God, I don't know how I'm going to feed my family, but I know you will provide. And what they allowed me to show was that act of kindness. It allowed her to concrete her faith in God. And within this third scene, when I got to this point, I remember I heard like an army was marching. And then the guide say, boots on the ground. And I had this thought, oh my gosh, we are boots on the ground for God. This is a movement. We are the ones who are supposed to usher in every time somebody prays. We act in the place of God. A SOS call comes out every time you have a thought, every time you whisper a prayer. It does not go into nothingness. It goes out, yes, into the universe. And we are God's army, not a God that you contain just for you and your race and your culture. It's simply pure love. And you are acting that love out by choosing to be kind. And what they did was allow me to feel how that allowed her to feel as a human being, to understand that her prayers are worthy and answered, and that within her own words and feelings and in her heart, she is connected to an ethereal source. They showed me three kids next door that got fed from that grocery. And she had one daughter, one son. And they showed me how she told them that story. And it resonated with her daughter so much. They kind of catapulted me, showing me in the future, where her daughter now is paying it forward, also helping people from that story that resonated with her so much. So it's like this domino effect they're showing me. See, if you want to see change in the world, you become the change. And I came out of that. And when I came out of that, I was like, it's a different perspective than what I remembered in the physicality. And it was amazing to me. And they started to give me now more downloads of things that are come to happen between now and 2029 and 2030 up to 2050 from the choices that we make. And I realized, I remember I had this thought to myself, like, so how do I save the world? How do we save the world? And all of a sudden, I'm getting these downloads, just seeing all of us as human beings as these cells in this huge body. And I love this analogy. I don't think I really said it before in this way, but it showed me the earth. You remember in COVID, this is where it started. Remember in COVID when they had the map of America and all the red dots would keep going, going, going? Every day they would propagate the fear and show the fear to say, you know what? It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And because we fed the fear so much, so many people died in that time that didn't have to. And what the angels were showing me is this time around for this earth, because we are now asking the question, I deserve more. They're showing me the aspect of the earth and lighthouses just being lit up all over the place. And they say, this is the quiet revolution. This is the boots on the ground movement, because we are the ones now who will be ushering it in. By our choices, by choosing, listen, we are a part of this huge universal body. And I remember I had this knowing, oh my gosh, so if we are a part of this huge earth body, if there's one aspect of people over here who say, I don't care about the other ones there because their color is different, because their sexuality is different, because how they pray or worship is different, it's as if you're cutting your hands off to say, I don't need your hand. Do you understand? And it was powerful for me to say, oh my gosh, this is a secret sauce to having world peace, to having love in the world, when we understand we are not separate units. We are all one unit. And it feels as if I was there, Neoshi, forever. And I started to focus again on this big artery because I so wanted to go to the Crystal City. And as soon as I was to think about it, my grandmother appeared again and she said, it's time to go. I was like, go where? And before I could start to argue with her, I was away from this whiteness and I was in this dark space. And it wasn't scary. It felt as if everything that I was thinking, the moment I start to think it there, it was starting to create. It's like this is where creation started, from this darkness. And as soon as I was to think, where am I? It felt and it also perceived as if somebody just took a very small pin and poked the darkness, and I could see this light. And as it started to spread, I slowly started to feel the breath within my physical body. And I'll never forget this breath because when I felt it and started to perceive it, then I had this knowing, oh my gosh, I've not been breathing air all my life. This breath is my consciousness. This breath is my connection to source, to God, to love. So I've never been disconnected from God ever. And then I kept taking this breath, and the feeling of just being where that space was still there. But then the first thing I felt when I started to feel my finger and my toes was so much fear. And I didn't want to lose that feeling, so I didn't want to move. But I was so disappointed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm back. And as soon as I'm coming back, I can hear my partner still on the floor to my left, and he's there screaming his head off. And I didn't want to touch the phone because I didn't want to disconnect from where I was. So I remember I leaned over to the right and I said, I'm okay. I didn't touch it. And I wanted to still keep this feeling of, oh my gosh, where I was. And at the same time, I heard the door opening because he called my brother-in-law to come back to get me. And I was just there breathing. And I had this fear among me. Oh my gosh, what just happened? Did I just imagine that? And the minute I had that thought, it felt as if I feel it a lot now. It felt as if something breathed me from my crown. It was like, and as soon as that happened, it flowed right through me, and I remembered everything. Like it just happened. And then I had this knowing, oh my gosh, I just sat with my grandmother and all the angels, and I know how to save the earth. And it was just, and my brother-in-law is there and he's in a hissy fit. And the first thing I realized, I'm not really hearing what he's saying, but I'm feeling. And I'm feeling the fear, and I can feel his heart pulsating out of him and saying, it's okay, it's okay. And he's not understanding. I'm saying, I don't need to go to the hospital. We are going to be okay. And my hubby on the phone at the same time, I'm having the phone and they're both panicking, and I can feel the energy, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I didn't understand, why am I feeling them? I'm not hearing what they're saying, but I'm feeling this anxiety out of them. Why can't they calm down? Why don't they understand? It's going to be okay. And he eventually said, we have to go to the hospital. So on that ride to the hospital, Nyashi, it was, I've never had a ride like that before. I asked him to put the window down, and I felt the air actually flow through me for the first time, that wind, and it had a message for me. And the sun permeating my body. I'm literally seeing my body light up. And I realized, oh my gosh, these elements are giving me something. We are exchanging energy. And when I get to the hospital, I went to Kings County, and I'm telling the nurse the same thing. Listen, I'm okay. Really. I just met with the angels, and you know, I know how to save the earth. And She thought I was equally crazy, and they brought the asthma pump. So they did what the professionals really should do on this physicality, and I understand it. She was very gracious about it, and she just said, you know what, it was just a really horrible anxiety attack. And they gave me the medication, which I never took because I knew I was okay. But you know the biggest thing I learned, Yoshi? Having the NDE was easier for me than coming back to my nowness, graduating from only believing in a God construct or earth or love to knowing with beyond a reasonable doubt that I am already this love, knowing that I am already connected to God or consciousness or universe, because whatever people identify God is simply all in one and one in all. And it was challenging for me to explain it to somebody else who's going through a challenging time and who simply doesn't know that, the choices that you're making is really withholding love from yourself. And this is kind of why your body is reacting the way it is, because you're not pouring into you. And the choices that you're making is really taking away love from yourself. Every time you look in the mirror unconsciously, you find a fault with yourself, allowing the cells in your body to believe that you really don't deserve and you don't want to feel your heart. And that was a challenging part for me. I'm Jamaican. And trying to explain this to my family for the next probably 6 months or so after, I really had them worried. I really had them almost dysfunctional because everybody was tiptoeing around me. And I was feeling them saying, yeah, Shani, everything's good. But I was saying to them, no, it's not, because although you're telling me that, this is how you feel. And it made them absolutely livid. And I struggled with this for almost the first year, because I would give them the predictions as the dreams would come, and they would see them coming through, and it festered more fear into them. And my guides allowed me to see how much when things are misconstrued and we disconnect ourselves, we don't understand the power we have in our choices and the power we have in simply sending love and healing into a space when we hear that an atrocity may happen or has already happened, to understand the power we have as a cell within this unit, this world, when we actually just wish love and healing and growth in these regions and to these people. And it just took me through this trajectory of facing you know, the one person in my family that I really wanted to make sure they understood was my mother. And this is the strict Jamaican woman who's really strict in her faith, and rightfully she should be, because without Christianity, I would not have known there is more to myself. However, she was very fearful because in my Christian faith, the living has nothing to do with the dead. And I'm talking about having conversations with my grandmother. And not just that, I have proof in the pudding also when my grandmother guided me to save my father from a heart attack, saved my daughter from dying when she was to be born, and saved me not knowing that I had stage 1 cancer in 2024. That's coming forward over and over and over again. And when I would tell them these things, and they would really realize, oh my gosh, it's from that dream or that connection that saved this person or did this, I realized instead of allowing them to feel more comforted, they were more fearful. Where is she getting this information from? And at first, from ego, I pushed everything at them because I wanted them to know that I knew. And my guides very quickly grounded me. No, you did not come back for this. You did not come back to create another box or representation or following. You came back to witness and document and allow them to harness their power. If you pray, pray. If you meditate, meditate. But understand that each cell in this universal body we call Earth has a part to play. And I eventually kind of honed down and had so much compassion for where they were. Because God, consciousness, your heart meets you where you are. It doesn't matter what construct, what color, what country you are in. Whenever you're ready to pour into you, it's simply wherever you are, I'm ready to choose me. I'm ready to pour into me and allow every decision and every thought and everything that you do in your life to harness from your heart what gives you peace in that day. What makes me feel joy today and happiness? Not saying yeses when you should have said no, because when you do that, you withhold love from yourself because your heart gently is tugging at you to say, no, it's not right for us right now, but we don't listen. So I remember months after, my mother was still tugging at me. She was fearful, and I became very compassionate. So we had less arguments about this new thing. She would call it this new thing. And I would just give her space and give her time. And my guide said, pause and allow. And one day out of the blue, she just called me and she said, you know what? I have four children and I don't want to die and not know that all four of them are going to God. And I have a feeling you're going to the devil. And in that moment, I cringed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my one opportunity to ease her heart. And I was thinking of how am I going to coin my words? Because with my mom, if you say the wrong thing within the Christian faith, she's going to scold you for the next hour on the phone. And you better sit down and listen. I'm a Caribbean girl. Listen, that's how we work. And I'm graceful in it. I will take it. But I didn't want this conversation to be argumentative. So when she was on the phone, I started to feel the essence of Archangel Michael. And telling her about an Archangel Michael is kind of tricky too, because not every Christians wanted to hear about the angels, right? I said to her, one of my guides is coming in, Mom. And she was a little bit annoyed. I want you to tell me this. I said, just give me a chance. And I had this presence of Archangel Michael. He enters from my crown. And when I closed my eyes, he took me to this cloud. It's on my book. I tried to recreate it the best way I could. And I was seeing this little boy stretching on this puff of cloud, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, if he takes one step, he's going to fall, and I can't get to him in time. And immediately when I had that thought, Archangel Michael said to me, I don't understand why human beings are always stretching far and high for God when God actually resides with you. And when I received that, then he said, look. And when he said, look, I was no longer on the puff of cloud. I was on the earth and I looked and there was this huge white mansion. And I thought to myself, what's that? And by the time I was to think it, I'm inside the door. And these doors, they had doors going all the way. I don't know, it never stopped. These beautiful golden arch doors. And as soon as I was to think, why am I here? I was in the first door. And when I went through that first door, it's the exact replica of my mom's church in Jamaica, exact with the organ. I never forget this big organ on the right side of the church, and the whatever the pastor preaches on, and on the other side they have the choir, and the pews come all the way down. And Archangel Michael said, "Do you feel God in this room?" And I said, "Yes." I was excited because I identified that church. And I came out that room and I went in another one, and this one I could smell the incense. And I could hear the drums beating, and I could really resonate with it because I also felt God in that room. He said, "Do you feel God in this room?" And I said, "Yes." And I came out of that room and I was in another room, and it was more like Indian culture. There was the dance, and I don't know how to explain that, but anyway, he said, "Do you feel God in this room?" And I said, "Yes." And the fourth room I went in, I'll never forget this, it's a dark room. And all I could see was this big table, one chair, and this girl. She was crying. I could hear her crying. And she had her head slouched down like this. And I had this thought to myself, this is not right. This doesn't fit because I'm thinking I'm going to keep seeing different religions. And Archangel Michael said, once any human being that has a perception of what God represents to them creates for themselves one of these rooms in this mansion. I found it interesting. And as soon as I started now to focus more, I could see the light orbs around this girl, and then I identified, oh, those are angels around her. They're comforting her, whatever she's going through. And I did feel love in that room. And I said, yes, I feel God in this room. And all of a sudden, I was outside this mansion, and Archangel Michael said, can you contain God in that mansion? And I was about to say yes, I know I was because it felt familiar. And all of a sudden, everything just started to populate around this house. The trees and the valleys and the mountains, and there was the cloud and everything. And I'll never forget, I started to hear the singing of birds. And I had this fresh knowing, oh my gosh, God also represents all these things outside. And then I said no, because I realized you can't contain God there. And I felt myself go a little bit higher, a little bit off the earth. And he said, look, and when I looked, Yoshi, there were just multiple other mansions just being populated. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, we have that many religions? Because the one mansion I went in had so many rooms. And then on the outside, there's so many other mansions populating. And Archangel Michael said, do you feel God out here? I said, yes. And he said, can you contain God out here? And I said, no. And within the next breath, I was further. And now I'm not seeing these mansions anymore. I did a painting of this, trying to I don't know, recreate what I saw. It was just multiple Earths populating. And it started with one big Earth and it started to populate like this, all the way around into a circle. And Archangel Michael said, do you feel God up here? And I said, yes. And he said, God is everyone, everything, everywhere. It cannot be contained. It cannot be owned. Does not need to be identified. Go and tell them. And all of a sudden, there was just this white puff of cloud. And within the breath, I was back. And by then, my mother is on the phone, livid, shiny, because that's what she calls me. I can't butter with this thing. And I came on the phone. I said, Mom, I have the exact thing. Listen, my guide just told me this thing to tell you. And I said, just calm down, take a breath. And she took a very hyperventilating breath. Talk. And I was ready. And listen, my mother in all my years was never had a conversation with me about religion and not argued back because I always say the wrong thing. She was quiet this whole explanation. When I explained to her, she didn't say a word. And when I was done, I said, Mom, do you understand? Because I want you to understand this. It's very important for me, for you too. And all she said was, yeah, you're talking to God. Me go my bed now. Talk to you tomorrow. That's her in a Jamaican language, which said, I'm going to my bed now. Now I know you're talking to God. I'm going to my bed now. Talk to you tomorrow. She didn't wait for me to say bye. She just hung up, and that's it. And what I realized when she said that, I didn't feel the fear in her voice anymore. And ever since that day to now, I don't know what came from that explanation, but she got it. She got it so much that she's never argued with me about it. She would say, how do you feel? I want you to make sure. I know I'm praying for you because I know you're doing God's work. And she's just this relaxed human being, understanding that there's a different aspect of God. And once you feel in your heart that it's true, once the message resonates with your heart and it's of love and purity, she says that's all she cares about. And that's something that was so powerful for me. I realized, oh my gosh, this is not just for my mom. When I start to speak about this, this is for everybody. Because digressing from that, every conversation that I have with any guide, Gaia, any being that I have connection with, either through connecting with anyone in front of my screen, giving a message to them, it brings you back to the same thing. It is the quiet revolution now, Neoshi, on this earth, on this planet. It is a pivotal time for this planet right now because it's the first time we actually have this beautiful earth that we're not going to completely annihilate. Because in our hearts, somehow, I don't know how, but it's beautiful. We started to ask the question, there must be more. And there are many of us who are fearful to say it outwardly, but you feel it inside. And I remember my guide said to me, you called in the demolition team. And this is what we're doing. We are allowing the structures that does not work for your growth anymore to slowly and peacefully shatter and diminish. And they say when it starts to happen in the political system, in the education system, in in the industrial farming system, you know, everything that starts to now demolish, they say pause and allow because you called it in. You are the architects of this and you need to acknowledge it. And during this time when all these sectors will not completely fall, but break away the aspects of them that cause you to feel limited, cause you to feel, oh, I'm dependent on money. And I love the way my guides and the beings that are around me explain money because it's energetic. And they say the financial structure will have breakaways within it because there are structures within that sector that allows you to feel limited. I have to struggle to earn. And when you earn, it has to go back to these other places, like forming an octopus arm on you. So you're always within this fight or flight phase. Oh my gosh, I have to struggle and wait until retirement. And they say that's not why a soul comes to this planet. Every human being, every cell on this planet has an intuitive gift. But because of all these structures that came to say you are limited, You forgot about this thing that you did as a child that made you feel so peaceful and happy in your heart. This intuitive gift, art, creativity, cooking, whatever it is, whatever you do as a human being now, my guide, show me that you get lost in time while you're doing it. That is your soul gift for this planet. And when you're doing it, you are channeling. There's no special channeler on this planet. We all channel in our own ways because the cells in your hand have a completely different work to do than the ones in your heart. You are that cell. Stay where you are supposed to be and simply be true to yourself and allow this earth body to be in balance, in complete balance, and stop going off whacked all the time, trying to follow an identity that really isn't you. I identified myself for years. Oh, I'm this entrepreneur and I wanted to be this, and I'm successful at this. And when COVID came, I don't know, this carpet just got dragged from under me, and I didn't know who I was anymore. And then my guides allowed me to say, but you are a creative. You are not here to just simply do that. Because when you're just simply wanting to do what society, history, and ancestry told you, I have to work hard to make it. I am supposed to struggle because I'm this color, because I come from that culture. They say, no, those happen for you to witness and document that my ancestors did that for me to ensure that I live a life of ease. Why do you carry the shadows with you? Why don't you understand it was an experience for you to live once? I experienced that once and I take the lesson from it, and now I will become who I truly am supposed to be. Do you understand? So the lessons, I don't know, I think I'm talking too much, but it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And it's so important for people to understand that you are not separate from an ethereal source. You already are the ethereal source. And if you are a visualizer, start to visualize yourself, your family, everyone around you with this beautiful light right here in your heart space. We all have this light within us. It's not outside of you. You are already loved. You are already connected to God. Everything that defines your life is your choice. Do I choose to give love? Be kind. Say thank you just because. Help a person just because, not because of the identity or what people are going to say, just because it feels good in my heart to be kind to me, to look at myself every day and pour into me. I am worthy. I am enough. And because of that, you reciprocate the same energy to everyone in your household around you. And the same human being, you also have a choice. Do I withhold love from myself and beat on myself every day because of a decision somebody made when I was probably 2 or 3 or 6? And because they made a choice to withhold love from themselves and pulled you into that play, that scene, that stage, and allowed you to witness and experience this atrocity. Maybe it's shame, maybe it's trauma. It was for you to only experience once. And the thing that you missed while you experienced that, the reason why you're standing here and still have this breath of consciousness is because you overcame, not because you were weak, but because your light overcame that darkness. So why should you now choose, because of their choice of withholding love, to now withhold love from yourself, beating yourself up over the years? Oh my gosh, I'm tarnished. Oh my gosh, I'm traumatic. Oh my gosh, I am this, I'm depressed. Why do you identify yourself in these demeaning ways that limits you when you actually are pure love? And this for me is a catalyst of change because I was this person for all these years when I went through this phase in my life of disabuse for 1 year. It wasn't even like 3, 4, 10 years like so many other people. But I festered so much hate in my heart. And for this individual, every so often I would want to know, is he gone yet? I don't want to say the word on here, but I wanted this person to have the worst type of exit ever. And they allowed me to see energetically what I was doing to myself because hate has such a heavy energy and it starts to deplete you. And they said, in those times, whilst you should have witnessed that once and understand, oh my gosh, my light was so overpowering that I overcame that. And I'm going to be the voice to make sure that I am going to stop this. I'm breaking this ancestral curse within this family. I'm breaking this ancestral curse within this community, within my community, my African American community. I'm here to be the catalyst of change and spread your light. And instead, they showed me over the years I became my own abuser. I was very upset about that. Like, no, I didn't. I buy everything I want. I'm successful. But they showed me, but no. When is the last time you looked in the mirror at yourself for 30 seconds? And I didn't. I remember the first time my guide said, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. Neoshi, I paused. I actually couldn't do it. And I was telling everyone else in the world that I loved them. But the moment I faced myself, it's very challenging to go through these things and realize the shadows that you carry with yourself, not understanding that you're doing it to you because your choice. And I understand many people who've gone through trauma is going to say, no, but I'm telling you, it's true because I did it. And the moment I started to say, I love you, I love you, I love you, and felt it, it felt as if there was a rose opening here. And I started to perceive the world differently. And I realized, oh my gosh, I also find fault with myself. And then I started to open up to see a different perspective of me. And that was the change for me. I thought to myself, everybody needs to know and feel this, how much we are a part of this universal cell, and to be compassionate and allow every soul to take their own path. The ones who are choosing to withhold love, that's your choice. But I won't step in onto your stage anymore to be a part of that. I choose to pour into me. And there's so many lessons, but the main lesson is this one. That's it. It's by choice. Everything is by choice, and we need to understand that it starts here. Do you understand?
Love that. Love that. That's so many. Everything that you talked about really hit home with me. And even watching your initial interview that you did when you were discussing your NDE. When I say literally everything, there was something that either just resonated with me deeply as a knowing, like, yeah, that's right, or it just resonated with an experience that I had from my own
Mm-hmm.
life, right? So when you
Right.
talked about things like doing the mirror work and
Mm-hmm.
them taking you on a journey of like self healing. Can you talk a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
about that? What was that like? Because that was very much my experience too.
Yeah.
And before doing the work that I'm doing now, where they literally took me on a journey of self healing. I didn't know it at that time. It wasn't like, okay, we're gonna. It was just like, okay, this is what you need to
Yeah.
do,
Yep.
and literally walking me through it as
Mm-hmm.
I'm going. So I want to hear a little bit more about that. Like, what was that like for you?
You see, when you are being set up for your mastery in whatever creative gift that you have to give as service to this world, it can be just being a shoulder to cry on. You become your lived experience. And what we missed, the angel showed me that many things that you experience in life was not to break you. It was something to flow through you to understand that this isn't happening to me. It's happening in order for me to master the overcoming of this because it becomes the lesson that you teach. And what better lesson can you teach than something that you experience, learn to overcome? So when you give it to somebody, this service, it's coming from your heart. So it goes beyond the words that you speak. When you speak to somebody, trying to heal them or comfort them, you're not just speaking energetically. I now can feel it and show energetically you're exchanging something with this person that allows them to awaken this, let's say, this dormant DNA within them that finally allows them to hear their own hearts and their own guides. It says, you do deserve more. It is okay. You're safe. And this exchange that you give to them, you could only give them if you went through the process yourself. So the mirror work for me is the first time they had said to me, you're going to look in the mirror. And I thought, okay, fine. And I looked in the mirror and I looked away. And my guide said, no, look at you. Look at your light. I didn't understand what the daylights are talking about the light. I'm just seeing me, and all of a sudden I'm seeing the freckles and I'm seeing the skin tags over my eyes. I'm like, and they said, that's your first lesson. You have chosen to become your own abuser. And I was very upset about that. I said, "What do you mean?" And they started to show me flashes of decisions that I made in my life since I was 13 years old. Every time I said yes when my heart was saying no. But I did it because since then, although I said I put it to bed, I really didn't. Subconsciously, I felt, oh my gosh, I really need to have somebody to love me. I need to fit in. Because if I don't, if they know my story, they will just know that I'm muddied and I'm tarnished and I'm not pure. So every time I went to church, even, and I sat in the back row, it's because I felt unworthy. I would hold my head down, although I'm well dressed and attired, and I say the right things, Neoshi, to everyone around me, because people were attracted to me, and I had all the right things to say. And I'm always giving love, but they say, when is the last time you poured into you? And I never understood what that meant. So they brought me through this phase of 6 months. And people call it dark night of the soul, but man, I don't know what it was. But I had to face me. And I had to write letters to myself. And I had to face me. And I had to write letters about things that I knew that I could overcome by choice. And it felt hard for the first 2 months because I found it ridiculous. But then over time, I felt the more I did the mirror work, which many people say, oh, the mirror has darkness in it. But if your intention is not for darkness, if your intention is to connect with your light, where is the fear coming from? So my guides allowed me to look in the mirror, and there was an element, the element of water called me in a sense, because water has every memory that you have, your lifetimes, every lifetime you ever lived, and everything that you are becoming. So they also kind of connected me with water in a sense where I would just simply relax every week and take a bath. And within that bath, I will start to teach this physical body to connect with my ethereal body in a sense. And it was just so it was a rediscovery of the love that I had for myself because I would find myself just simply passing my hands on my body and allowing, like training my body to love me again, in a sense, and training my mind to accept I am already loved. And it was just me affirming every single day, I love you, until I would feel it, until I would start to understand. When I went through my door, my perception really changed. I didn't miss the plants in my house when it would start to bud again. And I would see love into that. Because when you start to love yourself, you don't perceive anything outside of love. And what I found also at that time when I started, there were people in my life who were like, I call them energy vampires, in a sense. And somehow there was a space that was made for me that they no longer perceived me as if I was off this planet, and they wouldn't call me anymore, just like that, without me saying anything. So as soon as you start to pour into you energetically, it also creates this beautiful bubble of light that also protects you. It protects your peace and your mind and your grace for yourself. And without you saying anything, anything that's in your life, any thought, any conversation that does not feel peacefully to your heart, slowly dissipates. Why? Because you made the choice with your ethereal self, with source. I now choose to pour into me. So being in traffic that used to completely drive you nuts, well, drive me nuts, I would simply be in traffic and find myself taking this deep breath and be thankful. Thank you for allowing me for this, getting this pause. And before, when I would make plans and it would get disappointed, I would beat down on myself. I knew it wasn't going to work. I just knew that I'm not good at this. Instead, I found that slowly I started to be thankful. Thank you for this redirection that you're giving me. What's next? And it slowly just started to expand in a way where my perception on this life was simply as if I had these lenses on and they were foggy. And as I kept doing this self-love, self-healing with me, it slowly started to clear. And I just saw life from a different perspective. And I now understood life is not beating up on me. It's simply living through me by my choices. And you know what? Now I choose to have this life that I deserve. I'm not saying yes is when I should say no anymore. And it simply digress where I found myself in a space where work is child's play. It doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't get up today. It's child's play, something that feels fun. And then I'm working less and gaining more. Why? Because I'm pouring into me. I'm not following any constructs of society that says you must, 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 must. And when I feel into my heart, oh my gosh, I have to. I don't do that anymore. Because now all I really do in everything that comes, every opportunity that comes my way, I really do stop and I ask my heart, does this fulfill me? Does this give me joy? Does this give me happiness? And if the feeling is otherwise, no matter what it seems to offer, it's not for me. And these are the spaces that we need to take ourselves now back in our bubble of light, especially as a woman or feminine energy, understanding that I'm not sitting within this aspect of myself where I'm yearning to be more, but I must settle because the family says, I must settle because the husband says, what about you and your heart? And the worst thing I think everyone has to choose for themselves, but I choose this time after regressions that I had in past life memories. The last lifetime I had, I promised myself that I will not go through a carnation and not speak my truth. I kept saying that in that memory. I should have spoken my truth. These memories that I had of past lifetimes, of being in Atlantis and being with nature and being the cedar of the land, and I chose this time to speak my truth. And I said to myself, how many other people are that archetype who are now swallowing your truth because I really want to fit into this culture, into this community, into this space, into this conversation, into this career. However, can you imagine going back, taking this beautiful journey of life on this sand, and when you go to the infinite waters, which is going back to spirit, when you get to see this flashback of your life, you regret. Why didn't I speak my truth? Because what you don't understand is every decision that you make is not only for you. I found this interesting when my guides show it to me because every time you make a choice to stand in your truth, it reciprocates to someone else who's witnessing your bravery. And if you chose not to do that, what are you leaving for the trajectory of everyone who will follow your footsteps? Our aim should be trying to come to this planet and try to make it better than we came to see it. Not living in absolute fear and limitations and going back like scaredy cats. Why? Because when you go back to spirit, you are back to infinity. You're limitless. And you actually chose to come here, yes, within this limited confinement, to express yourselves, to see how much you can show love. Without words, you can show love, and you can show love in different forms. So why do you choose to limit how you love and express love and exchange love? Why do you limit how you can expand yourself? By choosing, oh my gosh, I'm going to do one job all my life. I'm absolutely miserable. I can't wait for retirement. Where is your expansion? Where's your growth? Why would an unlimited spirit choose to live a limited life? You have a choice. You have a choice to be a part of this universal body and allow the arms to work the way they should, and the feet, and the heart, and the brain. And we all have a part to play. And this is, I think, why they call it the quiet revolution, because lighting up on this planet right now is so many creatives understanding that I also channel. I have an energy within me that this world needs in whatever craft that you do, in just being present as yourself and remembering that the light is here, right with you, not separate. And every soul should have their due process of taking their own journey without judgment, with compassion, allowing them to make their choices because they're also guided. And I remember they told me, no soul comes on earth alone. You have so many guides that comes with you, and no soul leaves the earth alone. You are met by all these guides that guided you with a flush of memories and also every loved one that you've ever and every person's life that you touch. It's there to meet you, to welcome you back home. Where's this fear coming from? I had it, so I know where it's coming from. It's from not tapping into your own heart source and only believing everything outside of yourself and not stopping for a moment of pause and say, you know what, does that resonate with my heart? When is the last time, whoever's watching this, when is the last time you ask yourself, Does this feel right to my heart? Does this give me peace and joy and happiness? Does this person, this situation pour into me? Because you deserve nothing less.
Ashe, Ashe. Love that. Love that. Let's talk a little bit about um, your gifts. From what it sounded like initially before your NDE, you weren't aware of any particular gifts that you might have had. Do you feel like you came back, like the NDEs were a result of, excuse me, the
Yeah,
gifts were a result of the NDE that you came
yeah.
back with, or maybe these were just maybe gifts that were being awakened at that time?
It's not as if I discovered anything new. After the NDE, I became able to perceive that which they were. So I've always, as a kid, knew that I felt energy around me. I always had, as a kid, remembered having conversation with beings and fairies. But and my family used to buy me the most fairy tale books because I think at the time they wanted to allow me to feel comfortable because within my community, I'm a Caribbean girl. That's not a story you tell there to say, oh, it's real. I see these things. So I've always known it. However, because of how we are perceived in society, it's just a fairy tale. So when I had the NDE, it was just a acknowledgement, remembering, oh my gosh, nothing is impossible for me. So if I was to have this perception of something and feel it deep in my heart, I would realize this is a soul call. So this art that I can do, I do it because my heart is at peace when I'm doing that. And I understand that it's also an exchange because when I do a painting, by the time I'm finished with it, it's for somebody else. And I just have this knowing this is for this person. And then I realized it was channeling also into this painting. And the energy that goes with the painting is of healing and love for this person that may never understand. But every time they will look at the painting or in the presence of it, there's an energy that reminds them, oh my gosh, I deserve more. Or whatever they need. I am love. Every time you look at it, you get lost within that painting. So I got to understand I am possible in everything that I want to focus on. However, these channeling abilities I didn't expect. And it came, I think, because of that promise in that lifetime before. And things have evolved in our times from the last, incarnation, where before then people would say, this is sorcery, burn them at the stake type of thing. Now things have opened up a little more. And I think I allowed myself to just surrender. And I trusted the process because I understand that it was coming from love. And I remember I said, I am ready to give this service, whatever this service is. And I didn't know what it was going to be. And I allowed myself to be this conduit. And I'm just surprised every single time because I don't know within my physicality a lot of things that comes through, but it does. And I feel it more and more. It comes from the heart and it comes from not propagating fear. And it comes for healing and helping the other person across from the screen from me. Because I won't know your story. But once we decide that we're sitting across the screen or we're in the same presence, what my guides allowed me to see is that we create the sacred ground that allows my guides and your guides to exchange between us what you need for self-healing, for growth, for guidance. It has nothing to do with the physical me. It's just an allowance of an exchange of love and grace and ethics at the same time. That kind of it's almost as if you're set up by your own guides. You're going for a burnout or something's going to happen in your life, and all of a sudden, you can watch a message from a million people, but only resonate with one. Because that's the one that your guides want to allow you to receive and acknowledge that which you need in that moment of time in your life. So I can't say, oh, I'm this, I'm that. My grandmother said to me, you're a soul clarity guide. I said to what? The daylights is that. She says you just are. You create a sacred space to allow someone to be clear with their soul path. That's it. So I don't restrict myself in any identity. I just know that I came back just knowing these things and I came back feeling if a person is icky or not without judging them at the same time. Sitting across from somebody and seeing the trauma they went through at age 5 or age 6 and know that they wanted to come on the screen to talk about money, but their guides wanted them to come to release that inner child that they've disconnected themselves from. And I will say, At age 5, let's talk about that. Let's go back right there. And then they would realize, oh my gosh, that's what I really needed, but I wouldn't have known it. But their guides knew that in order to, let's say, abolish this disconnection she has with money, she needs to go there to understand it's self-acceptance that takes you understanding that you are already abundance, that allows you not to settle anymore in your career or your money choices or whatever, and allowing yourself to now think in an ethereal way of abundance and infinite possibilities. So all these things just came in this way, I think, because gracefully, I really came back wanting to give this service this time because I do not want to go back and see a life review regretting anything. And I just ask every time that I have a conversation, just bring forward that which is holy and true only. Only. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about fear propagating. I just care about allowing the person to feel that peace in their hearts. And that's the part I want to play. So I do the arts. And I do channeled writing, and I find that is very interesting and also beautiful because it fills me, but it also gives me information that I couldn't study in a textbook. Information of other worlds, information of a soul's path. And then I just thought to myself, you know what? Let's just slowly allow myself to allow the grace of these messages to come through and share it with the world. And everything else that comes, this knowingness, it comes because I won't judge. If you're coming for a place of judgment, your guides won't allow you to perceive the ickiest part of a person's life because you start to add an energy of more shadow to them. You have to have the ability to come from a place of grace and love and compassion for this being, understanding that was simply a phase of your life, but this is what you're becoming now. And it's not that I'm doing anything special from anyone else. It's just that I came back remembering, oh my gosh, I can do these things. And my main purpose now is to allow everyone else to understand that they can do it too. So everyone who sits across the screen, once my guides would allow it, because not everyone is ready for that, but once they're ready for it, we teach them how to now feel, not to just speak and argue and fight darkness with darkness, but to feel. Feel from your heart what serves you and allow your own, they call it internal GPS, to guide you. This is where we are now on this earth plane. And so many of us, especially in our culture, we know of this. We call it the gut feeling, the intuition. However, we dumb it down to say, oh, no, I don't think so. So the angels are now like, this frequency is so permeating now that we know. But our monkey mind comes in and say, no, no, no. That's a thin line you're crossing right now. So it's just teaching people, oh no, it's okay. Start to make choices from your heart. And eventually your mind will start to trust your heart also. Because you don't disconnect from your mind. You train your mind to trust. Because what your mind does is put up this alarm system for everything you witness and experience to say, you know what? We are safe here in this job. We're safe in this relationship because, girl, remember the things that you experience? I have to keep you safe. So it manifests fear in everything that is outside of that because it doesn't know. So you are taught now to listen to your heart and feel. And when you start to feel, the mind relaxes because you're not thinking, you're feeling. And your heart guides you always to that which is holy and true to you in that moment. And eventually your mind relaxes and takes the alarm system down a notch and realizes, wow, every time she makes a choice from her heart, we're safe. Every time she makes a choice from her heart, she really feels pleasure and she feels happy and she feels joy. And slowly, stop fighting yourself. Everyone's out there trying to find a modality with octopus ops. Oh my God, I want to try this, I want to try that. However, have you stopped for a moment and asked your heart what works for you? Have you stopped and asked your body, I'm not feeling so well. What do you need to sustain you to feel balanced today? When is the last time we did that? So there are many things for us to do, but it's not outside of us. It's right here. And learning to feel and perceive that which you already are, this light that can't wait to explode and affect every other living thing, down to the plants in your house, that just starts to thrive because you now chose to thrive. Do you understand?
Absolutely, absolutely. I love how you put that. And you talking about, trusting yourself, trusting what's within. I think a really what's really helpful in allowing people to do that is when they, like you talked about before, someone may come to you for, finances, but you realize, no, wait a minute, we need to go. There's
Mm,
we got to start at the root of this,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
so I notice that a lot, even that's my sessions every damn time, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, they're coming for one reason, and then we'll get to that, but it always starts where spirit is taking them back to a memory from their childhood or from
Yeah.
experience in their life that they thought they were done and over with, and like
Mm-hmm.
I've healed that, I'm done, and it's like, no, it's
Uh-huh.
coming back up for a
Yeah.
reason. You swept some things under the rug. You didn't get it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not as clean in there as you thought it was. We need to tackle
Listen.
this.
Mm-hmm.
And they will take them back to that memory, and all the emotions come up, and they find themselves just like, and, at the end of the session, they're like, oh my God, I didn't
Yeah.
even expect that to come up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought I was done with that. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
no, clearly you see that there was a lot more that needed to be
Yeah.
released there. And so I think when you're able to release all the gunk that's been like holding you, you know,
It's just a
hostage.
shadow. It's
Yes.
just a shadow you cast. I remember Mother Mary one time, um, her analogy is like to the angels, the way they explain life to me is walking on this beautiful seaside on this sand. This is the life process. You can choose to build sand castles if you want to on your life. To a soul, your lifetime up to 80 years is like a day. So let's not think about linearity, but as you're taking this life process on this beautiful sand, the sea is always there. That's infinite life. That's going back to the death process. But as you walk, these are rocks on the sand. You know, insecurities, shame, pain, those are simply rocks on this beach side that you are. Yes, you can pick him up. Don't own it. It's not for you. It's just something that was placed there. It's not for you to own and say, I am this person who's had trauma all my life, and you bring it with you. Because what you do is you press replay, live in the same scene over and over again with with a different person, different face, different country. No matter where you go, you'll never run away from it. Why? Because you have these rocks that you've picked up. And Mother Mary said, toss it to the riverbanks. Toss it, toss it. I never understood what she meant, but it simply meant that see the grace into these rocks that are there. It's somebody else's memory, probably from ancestry, somebody else who chose to withhold love. But just because you were in that scene, it's not yours to own. Let it go and simply enjoy this life on this beautiful sand and make as much sandcastles if you want. And when they break, just create a new one. And if it breaks, create a new one. And every now and then the water will come in a little bit close. Something happens in your life, traumatic, almost taking you, but it's not taking you now. Why? Because it happens for you to have this awakening period. Somebody who dies in your life that's so close to you, and it awakens you to, I want to know there must be more in life. That was your soul contract with that person who's in your life to say, when I take my exit, it's going to give you this pivotal moment where you start to see life in a different. So nothing happens in your life as an accident. It really does happen for you. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. So as you take this beautiful walk on the sand of life, understand that life happens through you, and you have the capability to create as much sandcastles as you want. Do not become attached to it, not so much where you choose to withhold love from yourself. Or for some people, I'm speaking to people here who are millionaires, yeah? And they've created this beautiful life because you know what? You need to follow this identity structure. And what the guide said to them, which I found amazing, yes, you've built this beautiful, beautiful mansion on this sandcastle. But you see what happened? You allowed yourself now to be controlled by money so much that you built yourself a prison. You're inside, and you forgot to build windows to look outside. And your family that really mattered is on the outside. The people who you should have been kind to is on the outside. It's time to break it down. And this is why the water will come and wash it away. Sometimes you have to lose everything to understand that you don't need anything because you already are everything. And I found that really interesting because there's so many people, yes, and we are in our little states and we revere them and say, oh my gosh, I want to be like them. But do you know their soul path? Do you know the mansion they build on that castle if it has windows in it? Do you know their heart? So focus on your own soul path. Yes, they can do things and you can emit to it. Say, oh my gosh, they are showing me that that thing is possible. Don't want it. Want what's good for you. But understand that you are limitless. Yes, you can acquire that, but is it true to you? Do you understand? And as you take this walk, when you do make the choice, because on a soul level, no matter how traumatic you say a death is, when you do make the choice on a soul level to have your exit, it's not finality. And you don't take those beautiful things you built on the sand, not even the rocks. Because the minute you step into that water of infinite life, that death process, all of it falls. All the fear, all the anger, all the hate, everything that you had before, it's not there. And then you are the one who's left with this limitless ability as energy and love. And you start to look back on the choices you made. My gosh, I wish I had tossed those stones of fear, that stones of insignificance. I wish I had made that choice to build that castle over there. My gosh, I didn't smile with that child. I didn't see the love and the joy of children that I had. I was so angry. I was so focused on my career that I built a house and left my family on the outside. Now imagine going back to infinite life. You don't have a body then. So you can't express love in that way because you are already infinite love. And you look back and say, man, I'm sorry I didn't expand to see how it felt to really smile with somebody or just be kind just because. And now on a soul level, you want to come back another incarnation. So do it now. Do it right and serve yourself by pouring into you. I find these conversations very interesting and fulfilling because if people could really just identify themselves within these conversations by feeling what comes from it would simply allow you to live such a fulfilling, wholesome life, not being tied up to the tangibles. This water, I need it, I have to have it. You already are the water. You're already from the source, and you're not separate from it. So live, live. And I say again, live. That's it.
Absolutely, absolutely. You mentioned that they showed you a pre-birth planning. Do you remember, were there different aspects of that? Like what was, can you break that down a little bit? Like what were you shown the whole process was?
Okay. So some parts of it are kind of personal, but I can talk about it because I've seen my own pre-birth, and my guides also have showed me the process of souls having this pre-birth, which I'm now putting in the book, which is amazing. But for my pre-birth, I was the one who was a surprise in my family. My mother was done with children. She didn't want any. But for some reason, I chose this family because there was an ancestral curse that I decided on a soul level that I'm coming to break. And my mother at the time was going through a phase of not understanding self-love. And on a soul level, I remember I was observing these beautiful beings, and I wondered why they didn't have unconditional love. And I said to myself, I want to go to show her unconditional love. That's what I'm going to give to her because in the ancestry of the women in that family just went through certain things and they accepted it. Oh my gosh, it happened to me, it happened to me, it happened to that one, that one. It's okay. And I thought to myself, I'm going there and I'm going to show them unconditional love no matter what. So I remember having that plan and I had these exit points. I said, you know what, if it doesn't work here, well, then I'm going to do it at age 16. And I had these ages that I had to say, these are the catalysts of change. And I just had these plans. But while I had this pre-birth plan, there was just this council and they don't allow me to see the faces, but I had to get it almost like approved on a soul level. And I remember being told this phase of your life is not going to be easy as a human being. But I wanted it so much. No, it's going to be okay. I can deal with it. I can deal with it because as a soul, you feel so, because you're everything. So I remember having the process and I remember my mother's thoughts when she found out that she was pregnant with me and she did not want this pregnancy. And within that process, I was not in the womb the whole time. I was in and out and in and out, checking in, because I found out that my soul was not within her womb continuously until closer to birth. And I never knew that. I thought a soul was in the womb of the mother, but there was just choices that were to be made. And also, I was working along with her guides to convince her to keep this because we knew that this was going to break the ancestral curse in this family and it's going to change the trajectory of everything that was there. Because in her family also, there were women who had the gifts that I have now, but they were too fearful to bring it forward. So it was like there was a torch that was passed on to me to say, this is what you're going to do. When you go there, you're going to speak up, you're going to heal, you're going to help and guide. So I remember the soul journey within it, and I remember conversations that she was having with her mom, which kind of blew my mom away because she would say to me, how did you know that? Because I told her after my ND, and I said, because I remember it. I remember the conversation you had with your mom, and I told her the personal things that they were arguing about while I was in the womb. And she would say to me, why didn't I said, but that day I gave you nausea. I gave you nausea so bad you started to vomit because I wanted to allow you to stop talking about it. I wanted to allow you to perceive me that I was giving you love. And she said, I remember that day and I went to the hospital. I said, because I wanted to give you a break from this environment. And she found it extremely weird. But for me, I found it, wow, I can't believe that even coming in, come with this nurturing. And I also remember the birth experience. I was inside the womb and there was still just this conflict somehow. The energy outside was too much. And I realized she wasn't perceiving the unconditional love that I was giving to her. And on a soul level, I couldn't understand why won't she feel the love that I'm giving to her in here to just hug herself and love herself. And I remember I made the choice. I'm ready to come out. I'm ready to come out because I can't do this anymore from here. And I remember the pre-birth where even as a soul, I changed my mind. I was like, I don't want to come out anymore because it just felt constricting. And the weirdest thing for me, as soon as I did come to this plane in the physicality, I was fully into this body of this baby. And I remember the first thought I had as a newborn was, why isn't their love unconditional? It was very strange to me. She loved me though as a mother, as a human, but there was not unconditional love. And it bothered me so much as this newborn. Like, I have so much love, but I felt the limit. I think the limit, I don't know. I felt the limitation in their love. I love this child, however. I love this child, however. I love this person, however. And I couldn't understand the howevers. I love you if. So that for me was amazing. So that pre-birth just got me into the stage of, oh my gosh, we really do plan every scene. And it allowed me to concrete even more to understand that there's no soul, no matter how you came. I have also I don't know, growing up as this kid with my mother, I think that's why I had this tit for tat where I'm the one who's getting in trouble because I really identified there's no separation in this love, in this God that we talk about. But you know, as you grow as a child, and the choice is that you forget all that thing, that all is one and one is all. And I think also I chose on a soul level at certain ages to awaken to this. And I missed them each time because I was still into this cycle of replay of the trauma that I faced at 13. So the NDE for me, I remember when I asked my grandmother what time, so what was the NDE? Was I to die? She says, no. She says, you chose that as an explosive awakening. I was like, yeah, it was explosive, all right. So I realized, oh, that was another exit point that I chose on a soul level to say, if it doesn't work here, there, this is a time when I really am going to straighten my back and speak in my truth and my power. And it almost didn't happen because I still had this fear because I'm Jamaican and they don't understand what I was talking about. And I didn't want to hurt my parents in a sense. My dad is the cool one. Like he's the one who tell him I'm going to the moon. He says, what date I'm coming? And when this happened to me, my dad, he's my hero because I had memories of him telling me as a child about himself on farm work when he used to do it years ago when I was younger. And he would tell me about this man who he used to work with. And when he was cutting the canes, he said he never forget this day. He saw his foreman walking down to him and it was like, Jamaican grumbling, he better not come down here to bother me. And he said when the man come down, the man said to him, Burrell, I just counted 6 people up here with your cutting cane. Where are they? Because he's supposed to cut his line alone. And he said he stood up, looked on the man and said, yeah, those are my old people. They're always with me. And he said that white man just had him weird the whole time because every time he would see him from afar, he would count at least 6 other people around him. And that story that my dad told me from that tender age always had me excited. Yes, I knew these energies that I felt around me was true, but it was like outlet a secret because he would always tell me stories. However, you don't really talk it to like when my mom was or everyone because that's ridiculous. That's devil thing. You know what I mean? So it wasn't trying to convince my dad because when I came out talking about this, he would tell me more stories of times when he almost had accidents and the angels, like the cloud, came down and just completely, he doesn't know how come he lived. But my mom was the one who was more. important to me to like get it right, get it really right. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to be the last kid in the family who somebody's going to say, you caused your mother to have a heart attack because of these things that you did. So for me, it was very vital and very important to be holy and true. You know, I forgot your question though. I'm talking, I completely forgot your question.
No,
I'm
you
sorry.
answered it. It's
I
fine. Go
answered
ahead.
it? Good. Because I keep going sometimes because while I'm talking to you, then these memories are coming back and I'm talking it because I think my guides needs this message to go out the way it is. So forgive me if I forget a question, just remind me.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I did want to ask though. When you talked about channeling, you channel different energies or entities,
Yeah.
beings.
Mm.
Who are? Is it the same all the time, or does it new people come in at different times?
No, I think I have like this. My main guide is Archangel Raphael and also my grandmother, my mother's mom. And they have now created a sacred space for me. So when I meditate or I'm doing channeled writing, there are other beings who sometimes want to come in, but if it's not holy and true, it's not allowed. So I will feel an energy coming in and I just know the blockage is there and they just put this block up. So for right now, who I channel are the angelic team, my grandmother. I also channel Gaia, which is kind of exciting to me to have this essence of the earth that comes in every so often, giving me guidance of what you eat, what's happening on the earth, or what's to come. I also channel I have an Arcturian guide, which is really exciting and weird at the same time because we're talking about an Arcturian and we're talking about angels. But I found as that started to happen, I got connected with the Arcturian by doing channeled writing, and I found that the feeling is the same thing. It's of so much love, and it's their family. They're like the advanced version of us in a sense. And I had these memories now also of when I was younger, and I used to dream of being on ships. And I would talk about it, and my mother would say, "Shut up! That's sorcery. That's not doesn't make sense." But now that after the NDE and I started to connect with them, the memories came back and I realized, yeah, it was true, it was real. So my connection with them is just similar to the angels. The message is the same. The message is about bringing humanity to this peaceful place of understanding that we do have the power in the choices we make. And they also show me a lot of things that many other human beings probably don't know, but how much that they already are among us, the extraterrestrial. They already have been among us. And yes, you have benevolent and malevolent beings. However, the extraterrestrials we're talking about, who is basically also watching the earth, just as the angels are giving so much support. And there are many beings on this planet right now who are, they would call them hybrids, but who are, have the genetics of this. We have so many beautiful beings now who we call, oh my gosh, they're super smart. They're way advanced of their times. It's just a collection of DNA that's beyond time and space. And it comes with so much love where when the Arcturians do come in, it's about talking about harnessing the balance within your body, how we choose to eat, how we choose to be amongst ourselves. And it's beautiful, and how the world is changing its trajectory, and how much we have to do to ensure that we live in a world that we really want to experience. And not just that, how the choices we make now affect the outer sphere and how many things that happens that human beings aren't told about that they deflect, that they help us. The asteroids that come so close to the Earth that nobody talks about on the news because they don't want anyone to know. And they're showing me visually how they deflected it. Did not, completely obliterate the Earth. It just cause a magnetic shift here and there. It's just beautiful understanding that we are not alone also and we are supported. And I'm really excited about this time. Speaking about extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings, along with angels, people just, you almost lose a whole half of the world because they don't understand that energy and love is just love, wherever it comes from. And embedding within our societies is already beings that are not of the light, already chartering and running the entertainment industry, politics, every industry that you can think of that has imbalances already has dark shadows in it. It's time for us to now expand our light And all you have to do is feel where the message is coming from, if it's true to your heart and if it's pure, and amplify that light. Because we are stepping into a world where, yes, we are going to perceive and understand that we are not alone. And if you don't, let's say, harness or accept the light that you are, when that starts to unfold really in real time, you're simply going to run scared and fearful. And why are you going to be fearful? If it's something of love and just more than you. We are not alone in this universe. We have never been. Perceiving it now is simply harnessing that which is true to you and allowing yourself to expand as this world expands. And that's simply where we are now. Just pause and allow the truth to unfold.
Yes, I love that. And with that said, I have a lot of followers who are healers in different modalities, and
Hmm.
or they're, what we might call light workers and
Mm,
teachers and things of that nature.
hmm.
And some of them are already stepped into that role, and some of them are still haven't, because they're, doubting and having
Yeah.
different,
Mm,
struggles within themselves about, am I supposed to do this, etc.
hmm. Hmm.
So, any message for the collective that you want to share with those people?
Feel with your heart. The reason why you are having this whisper within you to say, there must be more. I feel as if, although I'm doing this, there must be the service that I can do to give to society. The main thing that blocks you is money. And that's why the guides try to guide people to understand you already are abundance. Because when you start to think of something you're doing now to earn money, it limits you only to that. And because of that, you become fearful of, oh my gosh, if I tap into this creative skill that I have, that I feel called to do, how is that going to sustain me? And you have to now trust and understand, but I am already abundance. And I'm not going to let this thing go off the physicality. However, I'm going to start practicing. Because most light workers at this point, my guides call them lighthouses. You're being lit up in a sense from this thought in your mind that says, this thing really feels fun. It really feels true to me. And all they want you to do is just acknowledge it. I acknowledge this is true to me, and I want to advance into it. And yes, while you're doing that, allow yourself to also play. Allow yourself to also experience it from a childlike perspective, not the human serious perspective where you're putting a clock on yourself to say, I have to do this in this year. From a childlike perspective where you're just learning to play again, learning to tap into that and pause and allow. Because the moment you start to feel that, your guides are already armied up with you, have already created the experiences and the opportunities for you. But you have to come to a place where you trust. Start to pour into yourself because you cannot give light to the world until you give it to you. So many of you will go through this phase of, oh my gosh, it feels as if everything is broken in me, or it feels as if everyone is moving away from me. My guides want you to understand it's not that. They are simply giving you space to grow without the distractions of everything in the world. So all of a sudden you lost a job, but 2 months ago you were thinking of this creative thing, and now you say the world is so bitter. No, that was a kick in the bahootie because you should have done it before, and now your guides are allowing you, okay, now you've hit rock bottom. Will you trust your heart? And instead of saying the world is working against you, simply harness yourself to your heart and say, okay, thank you for this redirection. Now what next? And go from one step to the other because you have to work on you before you can exchange it with anyone else in front of you, with any service you have to give. It begins with you. You are the lived experience. So no one is being separated from you. And especially for those in the faith, you're not moving away from God. You're not abandoning God. You're simply accepting and acknowledging the moreness of God. And now you are actually perceiving that God is not separate from you either. God is here within your heart. And there's so many people who are fearful. Oh my gosh, I have these feelings and I can feel these energies around me, but what do I do in my church or what do I do in my faith or my culture? You own who you are. And within that, now you're being a catalyst of change within this space that you are to allow other people who are feeling it, are fearful, to observe and witness your bravery and step into their own as well. This is the quiet revolution. It's not going to be bombs and blazing. not outside of you, but inside you for sure. We have to start to harness this. If you're not standing in your truth and your power today, well, my guides would say, it's time. It's time to just accept it, pause and allow it. And now allow the magic to happen where you are manifesting that which is true to you without the fear. Fear has nothing to do with your light. It's simply a distraction that simply wants you to remain where your mind thought you were safe, but your heart knows it's ready for your transformation. So now you choose. Am I ready to pour into me? Again, I will keep saying this. Or will I keep choosing to withhold love from myself and truth and standing in my own power? It's up to you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Mm.
Um, what do you have going on right now? Anything you want to share?
Ah, well, I'm doing sessions now, not even from my own doing, but my guides just catapulted that to happen one day. Um, so I'm doing one-on-one sessions with these beautiful individuals who are set up to be across the screen from me. And now I'm also working on coaching and this beautiful schoolroom that's virtual that will be a sacred space for light workers, for lighthouses to just offer the service that they have in the purest space that they can do it from, feeling safe while they do it. So there's a lot going on now for me, but the main thing that I'm doing now is just this coaching and these one-on-ones. And as they unfold, I'll just keep doing it. It's not for
Awesome.
me, it's just for everyone else who's ready to receive it.
Awesome. Awesome. How can anyone contact you if they want to reach out?
My YouTube channel has all my information. It's in my name, Nekesha Burrell. And I have a website up now, souldeepconsciousness.love. All my information will be there or anything that I'll be doing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Neoshi, for your choice. It was a choice of yours to give this service and create this beautiful sacred space where these energies can be exchanged at this pivotal time. So thank you for that choice, pouring into you.
My pleasure.
Okay.
My pleasure. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no problem.